The source of my enthusiasm for ArchiCAD is it just aligns so well with what I like to do as an architect and what I'm passionate about. So being interested in technology, being interested in design, being interested in working with others, ArchiCAD just makes all those things easier. And that actually leads right to what interests me so much about ArchiCAD 18, and what gets me so excited when I look at the feature list, or as a beta tester as I tested things out. All the new features aren't about me, they're about the people I work with. So I would say in ArchiCAD 17 and ArchiCAD 16, there was nothing I couldn't model. You know, some things take longer to model, some things are quicker to model, but if I saw something and I needed the geometry, I could do it, no problem. So the early phases of what it means to do BIM, to get a 3D model, which can then lead to other things, that's done. We can do that. So looking at the new features of 18 with improved IFC, with the revision management, with the new rendering engine, it's all about helping my partners work better. So I can push data better to them, I can help them understand the project better, I can hand them BIMX docs, and so all these things are ways that improve people around me. I'm a sole practitioner, but I never work alone, and I rarely work directly with a client. I'm usually working with some intermediary. My primary practice focus is on residential work, though like most architects I'm happy to do anything, and in my career I have done a wide range of work. But I like working with other architects and other contractors, other design professionals that are interested in improving the way they work. So oftentimes a lot of my collaborations start with training, and then it leads to, well, hey, we get along so well, let's do a project together. For instance, right now I'm working with a structural engineer that uses ArchiCAD and a contractor that uses ArchiCAD. So the three of us are, you know, the design we're doing isn't revolutionary, but I think the way we are working is pretty unique, because we're all using the BIM server, working together. We're all across the United States, and we're able to just communicate really well and collaborate and provide an end product for a homeowner, which is going to be pretty special. ArchiCAD and why it helps my business is, in the past 2 years, I have moved from Minnesota to Massachusetts, back to Minnesota, back to Massachusetts, and then to Seattle. So I have moved a number of times, and it's never interrupted my work. My client base is not local to one area. So I've worked with, as a sole practitioner in the past 2 years, I've worked with clients in Germany, in New Hampshire, in Boston, in Texas, in Minnesota, in Washington State, so all over the world. And it's a non-issue, you know. Why am I shoegnome? Actually, the name of the company comes from experiences I had when I first started using ArchiCAD. I was like the lead production person for a small firm that used ArchiCAD. This is maybe 2006. And we were working on a very large, I think 300,000 square foot project in ArchiCAD. It was 3 buildings. The team went from, I think, as low as 3 people and upwards of 10 people, all working on the old original teamwork, which was a great solution for the time, but it needed improvement, and we got improvements years later. And one of the old struggles with the old teamwork is it's hard to get access to data. So you'd have to walk over to someone's desk and ask for help, or ask to reserve objects. I know this gets a little overly technical, or could get overly technical for an old technology. But anyways, the point was I would see issues that needed to be fixed for my coworkers, and it ended up being easier to just sneak over to the desk and fix it. So they'd get up to go to the bathroom, they'd get up to go to lunch, they'd come in late, they'd leave early, and I would run over to the desk and fix it. And sometimes I would have conversations with them to explain, okay, this was wrong, you know, here's how you can improve what you do in ArchiCAD. But other times, a window just needed to be moved over, a dimension needed to be fixed, and so I just kind of sneak in the shadows and do that. And as I was doing this, it reminded me of an old Brothers Grimm fairy tale, The Cobbler and the Elves. And that story is about a cobbler who spends all day, works really hard, and gets some shoes partially built. But I think he then runs out of material, he runs out of time, and he goes home. And these little elves sneak into the shop at night and they fix everything. And he shows up the next day, the shoes are done, it's magic. The greatest shoes ever. He sells those shoes, makes money, and it gets profitable and wealthy. And that's thinking about that story and thinking about how is both sneaking around, fixing problems, but also at the same time teaching my coworkers. It resonated with me. And whenever I heard that story, I always thought of myself as the elf, not as the shoemaker. And I know a lot of architects out there are the shoemaker, and that's okay. So shoegnome was actually a misremembering of the story. I thought they were gnomes, not elves.